Ryan Morris, a 17-year-old African-American junior at Riverdale High in Tallahassee, Florida, strolled through Greenwood Heights after basketball practice. The neighborhood's trimmed lawns and gated drives contrasted sharply with his usual route, but he was tired and wanted a shorter walk home. Inside one of those immaculate houses, Margaret Shepard watched warily. She had lived there for over a decade and prided herself on spotting anyone who didn't belong. Seeing Ryan, tall, black, carrying a gym bag, she felt a flutter of alarm. Unsure whether he was harmless or a threat, she dialed 911, describing him as suspicious. Officers Hastings and Klein, partners in a police cruiser, got the call. Possible prowler in Greenwood Heights, their dispatcher said. Without delay, they flashed their lights and headed toward the address. Ryan, just a few blocks from home, heard the sirens. He turned to see the cruiser stop abruptly. Two officers jumped out, hands edging toward their holsters. Hastings barked. "Stop! What's in that bag?" Ryan lifted his palms in confusion. "Basketball gear," he answered, voice tense. Klein narrowed his eyes. "Why are you here?" Ryan explained he lived nearby and always took this shortcut. The officers exchanged skeptical glances. They rifled through his bag, finding only sweaty clothes and a water bottle. "Nothing illegal," Hastings muttered. "So why'd we get a call?" Ryan's heart pounded. Then a black SUV sped up. Out stepped Dana Stewart, mayor of Tallahassee, and Ryan's mother. Dana marched toward the officers. "What's going on?" she demanded. Hastings said, "We got a report of a suspicious individual." Dana's gaze hardened. "That individual is my son." "Suspicious why?" Klein gestured to Ryan's bag. "The caller thought he was casing houses." Dana glared. "You found no evidence, right?" Neither officer responded. Ryan exhaled shakily, relieved his mother was there. Dana showed them Ryan's ID and address. "He's headed home. Let him be." The officers wavered. "We were just following procedure," Hastings mumbled. Dana's voice sharpened. "And your procedure is to frisk a teenager who hasn't done anything wrong?" Margaret emerged, guilt contorting her features. She admitted quietly, "I'm so sorry. I just wasn't sure." Dana's anger flared. "A single phone call turned my son's walk home into this." Margaret's cheeks burned. Klein cleared his throat. "We're leaving it at that. No harm done." Dana shot him a fierce look. "No harm? You humiliated him. This could have gone worse." Ryan stood by the SUV, rattled. He wondered what might have happened had his mother not arrived. Dana led Ryan to the car. "Come on, baby," she murmured, placing a protective hand on his shoulder. He got in, head spinning. As they drove away, Margaret stood rooted on her porch, shame washing over her. She hadn't meant to profile anyone. She'd always considered herself open-minded. Yet a teenage boy with a bag was enough to trigger her call. At home, Ryan asked quietly, "Mom, what if you weren't there?" Dana's stomach clenched. She had no answer that eased his fear. Meanwhile, the officers returned to their patrol, unsettled. They'd responded as usual, but an uneasy truth nagged at them. They might have been part of a bigger problem. Word spread quickly in Greenwood Heights about the mayor's son and the frantic 911 call. A few neighbors privately admitted they felt uneasy seeing unfamiliar people, especially young black men. Others were disturbed that a normal walk could be so easily misconstrued. Margaret wrote a letter of apology, but it couldn't erase the memory of Ryan's frightened face. She realized that prejudice doesn't always show up as overt hatred. Often, it hides in everyday assumptions. Ryan went back to his regular bus route, wary of drawing attention. He couldn't forget the moment those officers yanked his gym bag, convinced he was a threat. Dana, for her part, used the incident to push for improved training and stronger community relations, determined to prevent more misjudgments. Though no official charges were filed, the sting lingered. Margaret confronted her biases. Hastings and Klein re-examined their approach. Dana fought for structural change. Ryan clung to hope that one day he could walk anywhere without suspicion. In the end, the truth stung more than any accusation. Fear had ignited an unnecessary drama. But maybe a lesson was learned. A mother's timely arrival changed the outcome. Next time, luck might not be enough. Beneath Greenwood Heights' perfect lawns, deeper questions about fairness had finally come to light. Some neighbors proposed monthly gatherings to build trust and mutual respect, hoping no one would ever feel like a stranger. For Ryan, though, the memory of that tense encounter lingered, reminding him how swiftly an ordinary afternoon could become a crisis. Inside her bay window, Madison Evans watched intently. She had lived in Rosewood Heights for 13 years and rarely saw unfamiliar faces. That afternoon, seeing a tall black teenager carrying a bag triggered uneasy thoughts. Unsure why he was there, she dialed 911, labeling him suspicious. Though a tiny voice in her mind questioned it, she couldn't ignore her sudden fear. Officers Henderson and Lopez, longtime partners, got the call. Possible prowler, African-American male, mid-teens, carrying a duffel bag. They flipped on their lights and hurried toward Sycamore Lane. Ryan, only 3 blocks from his own house, turned when the siren whooped. Henderson jumped out, hand near his holster. "What's in the bag?" he demanded. Ryan swallowed. "Just my basketball gear." Lopez yanked the bag open, rummaging through sweaty clothes, sneakers, and a water bottle. Henderson's stare remained hostile. "Why are you in this neighborhood?" Ryan felt his heart pound. "I live nearby," he said softly. Henderson scoffed. "Then why'd someone call?" Unsure how to prove he belonged, Ryan tried to show them his address, but they cut him off. Suddenly, a dark SUV appeared, parking abruptly. Out stepped Camille Reed, the mayor of Rosewood Heights, and Ryan's mother. Elegantly dressed in a navy suit, she approached with calm authority. Lopez lifted a hand. "Ma'am, step back," he said. Camille's voice was cool. "That suspicious person is my son." The officers froze, finally recognizing her. Ryan exhaled shakily, relieved. "Mom," he murmured. Camille raised a hand for silence. "You stopped him because someone called about a boy walking?" Henderson cleared his throat. "We had a report." Camille's gaze hardened. "Report of what exactly? Carrying a gym bag?" Madison, peering from her porch, felt dread knot her stomach. She realized she had called the cops on the mayor's child. Camille showed the officers Ryan's student ID and their address, her voice tight with anger. "He's walking home. You searched his bag, questioned his right to be here." Lopez mumbled about procedure. Camille's eyes narrowed. Procedure or prejudice? Ryan stood rigid, still hurt by their suspicion. Turning toward Madison, Camille asked, "Was it you?" Madison swallowed. She wanted to speak, but guilt silenced her. Camille pressed on. "You put my son at risk because of an assumption." Madison felt tears sting her eyes. She'd never intended such a confrontation, but she couldn't deny her action triggered this chaos. Henderson tried to wrap up. "If there's no issue, we'll leave." Camille gave him a cold stare. "No issue? You harassed a 16-year-old on his own street." Taking Ryan's arm, she guided him to the SUV. The officers stepped back, clearly unsure how to fix their blunder. Madison remained, shame coursing through her. She had allowed one flash of suspicion to endanger an innocent kid, and now she couldn't take it back. Driving away, Ryan stared at the houses passing by. "What if you hadn't shown up?" he whispered. Camille gripped the wheel, her jaw tight. "I don't want to imagine," she said softly. News spread fast around Rosewood Heights. The mayor's teenage son had been profiled. Local news covered the story, amplifying discussions on racial bias and community reform. Some residents sympathized with Ryan, while others sided with the officers. Madison wrote a letter of apology, though she doubted it would heal the damage. Henderson and Lopez filed their report, admitting they found no wrongdoing. They felt uneasy, realizing how quickly an assumption escalated. Meanwhile, Camille returned to her duties at City Hall, more determined than ever to address the biases lurking beneath her community's polished surface. Ryan tried to move on, but the memory lingered. The blaring siren, the rummaged bag, the accusations. He wondered why a routine walk could become so fraught. At least this time, a timely intervention spared him. Yet he knew not everyone would be so lucky. Madison spent sleepless nights questioning her reaction. She recognized how her unconscious fears had carried real consequences. By morning, she resolved to confront those biases. In the end, the incident left scars but also offered a chance for reflection. Camille's quiet strength reminded Ryan that he mattered. The officers began questioning blind procedures. Madison realized that a single call can shatter trust. They had to do better. And so Rosewood Heights learned that beneath neat lawns and perfect facades, prejudice can lurk, waiting to spark a crisis, unless people do better, one decision at a time.